All right. So I played lacrosse in high school, and every year we got a brand new manufacturer that gave us spearware. And every year, the stuff came between halfway through the season or not even like through the season at all. Like the team right now at Gaithersburg that I used to wrestle for hasn't even gotten their singlets yet, which they actually need to wrestle. And the season ended today. Actually, it's the 14th. So I don't know what they did for that, but my idea is to be able to make the coach's life easier, make the parents' life easier, and you as a player, your life easier by having it all in one-stop shop. So you get your spirit wear, everything's just one stop. You need singlets, you need cleats, you need the headgear. Everything's on one website. You go in as the coach, you input your logo, the players' names. Either the MCPS pays for it. Right now, I'm on the MCPS bid list, but the kids are paying for it because I haven't won a contract yet. But once I win a contract, MCPS will help pitch in. That helps bring the cost down for the players. But ideally, it'll get shipped to you in 2 to 3 weeks. The price point's going to be lower. Because I'll be able to buy in a bigger quantity than other companies just doing Clarksburg lacrosse or just Gaithersburg wrestling. So the parents will save money, and then also there's a customer service aspect to it. Right now I'm the only person in my business, and I provide all the quality control. But ideally I want someone that knows about lacrosse handling all the lacrosse sales because they know, hey, something doesn't look right. Why would you want this model of head or this model stick? Because I know that the rules have changed, which they actually did. This is all the little things that I want everyone to know. And ideally, I'm going to implement this by getting kids at each school working for their schools. So have agents at the internship programs, and they're going to talk to their teams, talk to their coaches, and who better to sell something to someone than their peers. So if they're pitching lacrosse, you say, hey, I was talking to Rocket Sports, you want to get some lacrosse equipment? And they're going to come back to Rocket Sports. Then I'll develop a relationship with MCPS, and then move that on to PG County, DC, and a bunch of other counties. So that's my plan.
Stephen has questions or ideas that they want to share with Stephen.
Yes, Professor Blue.
What is a singlet?
A singlet is like a spandex material thing, and it's just like straps up here, like overalls, except they like end right here, and it's just for wrestling, so you can't people don't pull on it and like rip your clothes off while you're wrestling.
That's a very valuable question because now we know not everyone we're talking to in the audience knows about wrestling and knows what that is. And so as part of your pitch, what could you do differently?
Pick one sport and explain that sport more thoroughly, and then use that as a model for the business.
Oh, good.
You may not have time for that, Stephen, so just pick something a little bit more common. Soccer.
Soccer.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
And if I may, I don't know what spirit wear is, but I know what a uniform is.
It's similar to a uniform. So when you have the uniform, it's what you use during game day. But when you're walking around school, at least in all of MCPS, everyone walks around at that day and they're wearing the Trojans lacrosse shirt and it has play fast on the back, whatever the quote is for the team for that year. And it just shows everyone else, hey, I represent this school and this is my sport and I'm proud about this. And people like that stuff, and they don't want it to be late, and they don't want play fast to be spelt wrong, and they want it to last longer when you put it in the dryer 20 times. And right now, there's no one that can really get that done efficiently.
Now we have someone who's not sure what spirit wear is. I didn't either. And I didn't know what a singlet was either. And that same thing in the audience and possibly the judges. So what do we do to fix that?
The spirit wear piece, I can bring a prop. I have spirit wear I can bring in.
That's an easy way to show visuals. You could be wearing it, spirit wear like this, or showing it on the screen. Help give an idea, or you could relate it to, you said, uniform.
I know what a uniform is.
Are we allowed to have assistants up with us?
If
Or
you
is
need
it
to
just-
have someone model clothing, you can do that.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with you wearing it, as because like you said, appropriate given the business.
Oh yeah,
Sounds good.
great job.
I just have a question because I'm curious, and it sounds like you said there's nobody else that really does this. How did you find out that there was a market for something like this?
When I first started, I was just selling lacrosse equipment. That's what I wanted just to do because I love lacrosse. It was the only sport I actually enjoyed playing. But then I was marketing a bunch of lacrosse sticks I purchased. And I was at Clarksburg High School, and one of the coaches at Clarksburg High School was like, hey, this is great. Love the lacrosse equipment. It's cheaper, but can you also do spirit wear? Because I hate the hassle of dealing with spirit wear. And I was like, I've never looked into that. I don't know, but I'll get back to you. Got back to him, and now I'm doing his volleyball team this year.
Wow. Okay.
He's pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's going well so far. Hopefully we can get it easier. Yes.
I remember my coach was always really annoyed about getting the spirit wear too, or the uniforms. So who are your suppliers for that? Do you connect with different ones? Do you have one main one?
The main one, because of where we live in Gaithersburg, there's a balance between quality and price. And polyester is polyester, whether it has an Under Armour logo on it or if it has a Holloway logo on it. So I chose Holloway. They're my main supplier. I have 13 suppliers right now for just apparel, and then I have two or three for lacrosse equipment. But the quality is pretty much the same. Obviously, there's a little proprietary blend from Under Armour. But it works now selling Holloway because the price point's lower, and in this area, people would rather have the price like 15-20% cheaper than an Under Armour thing.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for So you might hear people talking now. We know Stephen has suppliers. If you're a clothing company and you need suppliers, it'd be good to connect with each other. Who wants to go next? We all get a chance to go. All right, come on.
Hi everyone, my name is Aixa.
I'm Dana. Okay, so we came up with this idea in an Enactus meeting while we were hearing about ESOL students' barriers and problems. So our idea is actually an app a complete app that is gonna help students from different aspects. Like it's gonna help them with their language, with their emotional problems, like because when someone moves to another country, it's hard for them to like connect with people, and they have so much pressure on them, like mentally. So we're also gonna support them motivationally with motivational quotes, and we also gonna offer them scholarships, and we're gonna inform them with the scholarships around them from different schools.
So yeah, it's a complete app. Only supports ESOL students educationally with educational videos and tutoring, but it also supports them emotionally and motivationally, which is an important element in that area. As a former ESOL student, I know what are the struggles. And during my time, I was in Gators High School too, and during my time, I felt like I needed that support and I didn't have it. So we came up with this fantastic idea, and so it's gonna be totally free for students because we want the app to be accessible to them, but it's gonna be sold to schools, and everybody knows that when you give free things to people, they don't take it seriously as many times. So to make them do or continue with the app or work with the app, we're gonna link the app to the ESL classes for a grade or something, like an extra credit. So that's how it's gonna work in this EduWare.
Any questions? It's an ESOL student.
It's a student that speaks English as a second language.
Okay, so a lot of us know that because we're students and educators. Some of the people who are going to be in the audience might not know that. So ESOL, and there was something else you said that I was going on. I don't know what that is.
ESL program.
Can you just explain the ESL program? There's something else you used in your.
ASL is different than ESL.
You said ASL?
No, ESL.
ESL. So you're
English
talking
as a second language.
Thank you. Okay, so anything else, other questions we have about this?
How are you going to help them with language?
Yeah, we're gonna have tutoring and educational videos as well as educational games.
Also, we're gonna have translators, and we also gonna connect them to the ESOL students around them, so they can talk to each other and text. And we will actually help them as a translator that they can like put what they want to say like with their own language, but we help them to turn it into English so that they will automatically learn different sentences. Yes?
When you said that they would be able to connect with like ESOL students around them, would they be able to like text them in their native language, or is it gonna be English? Because like I don't know. I used to be an ESOL student, and I had this when I first came to like a public school. I only spoke Russian, and like at the same time, one of my friends, he also started school, so I would just talk Russian to him all day, like didn't talk to anyone else. So I don't know, would they be able to talk in like their native language? Because then it kind of like limit their like.
This is something that we still need to discuss about because we don't know if it's better for them to talk in English and correct the English words, or if they can talk in their own language and we can turn it to English. We're still discussing that to see which one works better.
I heard of Grammarly.
Grammarly?
Grammarly.
Yeah.
Would it have like because I know I'm growing up speaking English my whole life. I've heard that English is a hard language to learn because there's so many like for Spanish it's like the 4 or 5 conjugations or 6 conjugations. For English, it could like there's a bunch of different ways we talk that just sometimes doesn't make sense. Is it going to teach them like the basic words like how to say I want to go eat lunch, or is it going to say how to say it how Americans speak it? Or
Well,
whatever.
it's gonna be linked to their ESL classes. So while they're whatever they're learning in their ESL classes in that moment is gonna be where they're gonna be reinforcing in the app.
So is it more like a Wiley, like if you're a Wiley, like a curriculum based?
Yeah, let's say it like that. Let's put it that way.
Autumn's had her hand up a little while.
Oh, sorry.
You said emotional and like
Yeah.
motivational support. How are you gonna go reach them in the
Yeah, back in high school, I saw, I would say, 15 of my friends, ESL students, dropping out of the school just because they didn't believe that school or education was a priority. I also was a tutor, an ESL tutor, and many of my students believed that attending college was impossible. So one of the facts is because they don't have that. They don't have that motivation. They don't have that goal. And the purpose of this app is to give that to them. And one of the ways we can reinforce that is motivating them through motivational messages and videos.
Like short stories. We were planning to send them short stories of former ESOL students that are successful people now, so they can get motivated and see that they can, and it's not a problem if English is their second language.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a question because Professor Weiser was talking about it earlier when it comes to apps. Would this app be free or how would that work?
Yeah, it will be free for students, but it's going to be sold to schools, to their schools.
Oh, okay. So you would work with the school.
Yes.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
In the interest of time, we have one more question, Professor Blumen.
So it sounds to me like it's like a one-stop shopping for ESOL students.
Yes. It's a complete thing, a complete app for them.
See what just happened, how she explained it? It sounds like to me, and she said it in that way, that might be a way to consider sharing it then with others. We have this one-stop shop for ESL students, or even English as a second language, and now you've kind of explained it in a way it sounds like makes sense to maybe someone else in the public.
It sounds like it's very multifaceted and very complete.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like based on your experience, you had maybe 12 places to go, if any, and you didn't know which 12 were appropriate for you to go to.
Yeah, that was exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is a way to solve that problem.
So I'm curious, what motivated you to come to NC?
It was my family. So my family encouraged me to attend to a college, get my education. But that doesn't happen to kids that come from low-income countries, and I don't want to mention them, but that happens. And because for them, their priority is to work and get money in the United States, when that should not be necessarily.
I would love to see next time you pitch the idea that you share your personal stories that motivated you to do this first. I think you saw people perked up when you were sharing those. that you have some good, valuable stories to share. And it can say. Let's see our next speaker. Thank you. Go for it, Amjad. Thank you, guys. Are great. Your stories are great.
Hi. So basically, my idea kind of came about while I was biking, and whenever I bike, I always listen to music. And occasionally, I'll be biking. I usually bike around maybe like 10, 15 miles, kind of at a time, I guess. And then sometimes in the middle of my ride, my music would just die. Like my phone, not my music, my phone would it'd lose its charge. And basically, I'd have to go all the way back home, like the second half of my ride without any music, and it would kind of be boring. And I kind of came up with the idea of creating a device that easily clips onto your bike. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do that yet, but it's gonna convert the mechanical energy from your bikes, from the rotation of the wheels, into electric energy, which will allow you to charge your phone while you're biking. So that's kind of my idea.
Nice. Good job. What questions do you have?
So you know what I like about this is, this is a need that I have that I didn't know that I had.
Okay.
Yeah, so I go kicking off on my bike, you know, about 10 miles into a park, and I get to the end, and I'm like, I have no cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're biking, and then you get like, maybe you're coming back from work, it's dark, and then your phone dies, and you don't know where to go.
Uh-huh.
So, yes.
You know this technology exists and works? That sounds crazy to me that you could take that mechanical energy from the bike and make it actually charge my cell phone.
You know you pump up
For
the
real?
battery.
Like
gonna say
I'm not a STEM major, but like I've kind of like this works basically. If you connect a battery to like a motor with wires, the battery will fuel the motor, and the motor will will rotate. But basically, if you start rotating the motor instead of having, it'll reverse the process and charge the battery.
Thank you, Andre. I actually
So-
didn't know if this existed. I looked into
It works.
businesses
It's called a
doing
dynamo. I
it.
think.
So it's called proof of concept. There are other businesses that have done
Dynamo.
it. You can actually do it, but that was my big
Yeah.
concern when I saw your idea was
Oh wait, can I? Also, like I guess like I came up with the idea because after I came up with the idea, I kind of went online and I tried doing some research, and it turns out like people sell components like parts, so you can build your own one, but there wasn't like many people who actually produced it. So, and you had a question.
Yeah, so in my business class last semester, there was a team that did like an international business plan. I can't remember what country it is, but they have more bikes than they do cars, and they have electric bikes, so they charge them. And so their business concept was kind of something similar. So just kind of think, I think you had shared that with me last week as one, I thought about that particular business. It was just a made-up business, but there is a country where they manufacture like electric bikes. So I don't know if there's a way that you can maybe incorporate that into like an electric bike kind of system, and then it's being charged off of that power that the bike is,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not using the electric power, you can use it for your phone as you're pedaling, or if you get lazy, you just, use the power to,
Yeah.
get your own. So I can't remember the country, but there's a country that they only have is bikes. So, and look up the electric bikes, and they have different stations. I think within that area, maybe, I don't know how many stations, but they manufacture it like locally and everything. So that made me think about that project. It wasn't real. I told them they should do it. But using maybe that as a concept to build that component of it, maybe that just be it, and you're adding it to like the bikes that we have around. So just a thought. But
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like the idea has like potential. So basically, like it can like move on from just like charging your phone to like making an infinite bicycle where you're biking and recharging the bike as you go. So it's an electric bike that charges. So yes.
Does this only work for bikes or like what about
Um,
scooters?
The technology can definitely be incorporated into more than just bikes, but like what I like, the idea came about from bikes, and like that's what I'm kind of focusing in on. And then as time goes on, I'm definitely gonna try to grow the market, incorporate. Someone told me that I should look into doing something with cars. So like, yeah.
hopefully this has given you some ideas. We have time for one more comment, then we gotta move on to the next one.
I was just gonna touch on the cars. My neighbor has a Prius, and this is what he said. I don't know if it's true, but he said that like when he presses the brake or when he lets off the gas, that it recharges the Prius a little bit. Obviously, it's not much, but if you have a way to figure out how that works, I feel like
Yeah.
it'd be-
I've definitely, I know how that works. Yeah.
there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Amalia. Okay, so raise your hand if you or anybody you know has a food allergy or any food preferences, so like veganism, vegetarianism. Okay, so what my business idea is, it's an app that is catered to the consumer to save you time and just endless time and even money and resources in helping you with everyday grocery shopping and finding foods that suit your needs. So for example, you go to the grocery store and you could scan something, and if you have a nut allergy, instead of reading every single ingredient, it would tell you right away, this is suitable for your needs, or no, this might be dangerous for you, and so on. And another feature that I would love to incorporate is, for example, let's say I'm feeling a vegan pizza today, and you type that in and it'll tell you supermarkets or maybe restaurants that provide that for you, that within your vicinity. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, go ahead. Well, yeah, both of you.
I actually had a similar idea
Mhm.
a couple days ago in nutrition class. We were learning about that stuff, and there's a database that my professor had showed us that had all the foods and all the calorie contents and fats and stuff. And then an app that I wanted to make was something that had the genetic aspect in it, because maybe you have family history, heart disease or something. There might be some foods that make that more prominent, and you're more likely to get it. And you're able to know, hey, you can't take the daily recommended value of sodium is 1,400 milligrams. Just say, hey, just because of my genetics, if blood test done, it goes into the app and knows, hey, you should probably only need 1,200 milligrams just to decrease your risk of heart cancer or something, and then you program that in with every disease.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
mine kind of like gets builds on that. Basically, for your app to run, you need a database. And
Yeah.
I was wondering how you're gonna acquire that.
Okay, so, well, a lot of the foods already with just the basic scanner, for example, have you guys heard of, is it My Fitness? It's the
Fitness Pal.
under Fitness Pal, there you go. For example, that just uses just the basic bases, and for just the really popular food products, it's already there. You just scan it and it kind of contains everything. The ones for the more low-key products, for example, like a company that just started out, maybe some like some protein shakes, or some even businesses that just create their own things, like homemade cookies, for example. That needs working on still, and I haven't fully figured out how to get those, because there are apps that do something similar to this, just the scanning portion of it, but a lot of their things, they rely on users to input that in, and that's not what I want to do. I want to kind of get it from the source itself. So yeah.
You know, your question.
So basically,
Okay.
and how is like the app gonna like I guess generate money? Because like I
Okay.
guess I have an idea for you about how to generate money.
Yeah.
Basically, like everyone knows what net neutrality is, where you can't really push one server like ahead of the other. So in this case, you can get people like to like sponsor your app or whatever.
Yeah.
So you push their product forward.
So I was planning on making the app cost money, because the apps that try to do something like that are free, they're just kind of not very helpful, because I was going on a full vegan diet when I thought of this, and I would spend way too much time just trying to figure out if a product kind of fits my needs or not. And some of the products, they're not labeled quite exactly as what it is. Like, the only example that comes to mind is gelatin, but we all know what that is. It's not vegan, for example. But there are so many other ingredients that are similar, that are animal products actually, but are disguised as hydro blah blah blah, something like that. And that's like, I really don't want to rely on that. But my price base would be $2.99, because I think that's kind of quite in the middle between not cheap but not too expensive, like $5. Yeah.
I think you should attempt to do a subscription type thing. Mostly because, I mean, like, you could even try to do something like a free trial at first, you know, also because you want to continuously update the app
Yeah,
and make
yeah.
sure, you know, that's going to take a lot of your time. So if somebody's already paid you at $2.99,
That's
they could
true.
potentially delete it and you just got $2.99. And
Yeah.
so I just feel like with subscriptions, they have to, maybe it can be $2.99 a month, you
Okay.
know, and if it's something that's helping them, they'll pay that $2.99. Like, it's,
You're right.
you know.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You said $2.99, $2.99.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel like you could charge a lot more than that.
Probably. So that's a good idea. I haven't quite thought about that. But so the only app that is in that costs money that does that is I think $5 or $6. So I wanted to be that like medium, so they don't go to anybody else, but they also don't choose the cheaper one because. Yeah, wait, Riley. I'm sorry, Riley had his hand over.
Yeah, sure.
Well, go ahead.
When you say scan the product, is that from the barcode
Yeah.
or like a QR code?
The
barcode
barcode
on
on
it,
everything.
okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
kind of like personal, but basically, like I wouldn't spend $6 on an app that I don't know is like helpful. So basically, I feel like what she said about the free trial would be like, because if it's really helping them, they're gonna put out that like whatever you charge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank
Who in
you.
here would pay, let's say $1.99 a month for that?
Yeah,
I would.
Okay.
So Molly, that's how you can figure that
Yeah.
out. You can pitch it and ask, would you be willing to pay, and see
Okay.
what people say. All right, let's move on to our next one.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
We can all go at once.
I know, right? Alright, so it's good that I brought these. I didn't think I was going to use some of this stuff, but it's perfect. My name is Natalie, and the name of my company is Lily and Pip Apron Boutique. And so, how many of you guys like to eat?
Oh yeah.
And how many of you guys like to cook? Yeah. And how many of you guys have parents who like to cook? Okay, perfect. So my product is actually a high-end, trendy apron line. And it's easier for me to show you versus tell you, so I'm glad I came with my little samples. So these are just some ideas with the fabric materials and things. And so the aprons are kind of off, not the normal regular aprons that you see in the, Barnes and Noble, that you see in like the kitchen stores. But Lily and Pip Boutique, pretty much the boutique itself is a full apron store. So just imagine walking into like a high-end boutique, and instead of dresses and shoes and things, or even like a Williams-Sonoma where you walk in and the aprons are kind of tossed to the side, Lily and Pip Boutique would literally be an apron boutique, and that would be like maybe 90% of the product line that we would be selling. And so what's unique about it is, one, that it's on trend. So we're trying to stick with making aprons that are more modeled after like dresses, skirts, like peplum skirts and pencil skirts and different types of dresses, and taking dresses that we would wear as women, and then turning it into an apron. And what's unique about the product is that instead of the closure, which I thought was important, being behind your back, we're working on a design where it would close on the side. And so as someone who has, spent a lot of time looking for aprons, the idea came when I was shopping for a friend of mine who loves to cook, and I was looking for an apron. I couldn't find anything that was special or anything that I felt was unique enough for her. And so that's when I started thinking about making this apron. And as someone who wears aprons, a little bit more functional. And my goal over time is to find a manufacturer who can make the aprons fire retardant, stain resistant. And I think the important part, because of the price point, because it's going to be a little up there, is the quality. Because our goal is that it would be passed on from generation to generation, that it wouldn't just be like a one-time, two-time, one-year wear, but we want to make the product so that it lasts, as long as possible, and that it's easy to manage, easy to wash, that it doesn't have to go to the dry cleaner. So finding the right material, the right detailing for the product as well. And I think our market, which was great during, I received some really good feedback on our executive summaries, and the term that was used was foodie fashionista. And so when I thought of that, I thought about my sister, who's 38 and loves to cook, but she loves YouTube, loves all the makeup channels. Then I thought about the YouTubers spending money on hair and makeup. I was like, why wouldn't they buy a nice apron? And so the functionality of it is that an apron can be used in the kitchen, but you can also use it when you're doing your makeup. You can also use it, when you get ready in the morning, you want to eat breakfast, you cover yourself up, make sure that you don't dirty whatever clothes that you have on. And over the next couple years, my goal is to make, aprons for children and then also for men as well. And so that's kind of the styling that I haven't worked out the details for, but that's the goal. And we're kind of marketing towards women because women most likely buy all the stuff. And I think based off of feedback that I've received, that men receive aprons as gifts, right? So it's usually the woman that's buying the apron for the man. So that's kind of our market. And promotion-wise, in my mind, I see a runway show featuring the apron so that people can see that it's not just your everyday apron, but this is something that is fancy. You even with hair leggings and a t-shirt, you put your apron on, you're feeling like a star and you're feeling like you're doing something that's just out of the normal. So that's my apron line, and thank you. Any questions? Yes.
As soon as it's not a question, but as soon as you talked about aprons and stuff and the runway show, I thought of Kristen Teigen.
Chrissy Teigen?
Yeah, Chrissy. Chrissy does cooking.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She posts a lot of Snapchats with her cooking.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So speaking of YouTubers, I know there's also a lot of really famous, one of the top earning YouTubers that do cooking. So that's kind of one. So maybe that would be a good way to advertise and everything. There's cake baker.
Yes. I'm all over. Yeah, I see all. That's all I watch. The Food Channel. I've been cooking for a very long time. So, Thank you. Yeah, I'll take definitely. Yes.
So kind of two things.
Sure.
Two comments. First one, custom aprons. Partner with this guy.
Okay.
Second-
Check.
Second comment. I think you were talking about how you could use the aprons when you're doing makeup or whatever.
Mhm.
Your average apron gets put over your head, and if you're doing your hair or your face or whatever, you would actually prefer the one that goes over the side. So I don't know, you can get that market too.
Yeah. So we're thinking kind of on a second second launch, but just kind of in talk. I've been talking to my business professor. She's mentoring me. So one of her ideas was a smock. So instead of just doing, just the one over your head, but having a smock or something that just kind of laps over, or ties back. I mean, there's a million probably different ways. These are just 4 that I think I'm going to start with just to really get the ball rolling, see interest, and then later on, again, we want to add the men's line. We want to add children, young girls and young boys. And then we've talked, I think Mr. Lang said the same thing, talk to MBI Cafe and work with them or, working with my friend was Scrubs, working with Scrubs. So there's a lot of different ways that we can go. But I think, originally the product was for a kitchen boutique, but I think I want to keep it specifically for aprons and different types of aprons. And my goal is to make it something that's really wearable, fashionable, durable, and it's for the everyday person. It's not for someone who works in a kitchen. So you wouldn't wear it working, in TGI Fridays in the back, right? But it's more so for you at home to just feel fabulous in the kitchen. I love to cook, and I think that that's a lost art. So I'm really trying to push this. Let's get back in the kitchen, but let's look good doing it at the same time. So that's kind of the goal.
Have you actually made any yet, or have you kind of the process of what it would take, or
the process? Yes, I've gone through. I can't sew, so I'm trying to find manufacturers that are not. It's expensive just to start any sort of retail line. It's hard to find information, so I've been really spending the last over this winter break and everything trying to find a market. I'm trying not to go to another country, but I think that might be the option because a lot of people are Shanghai and go to different countries that really do textiles. So that might be what I do. I'm trying to get some stuff done for Raptor Tank, so to see if I can at least have 2 samples there. That's why I'm glad I bought these to kind of pass around, but to have 2 things. And it's easier to see the product versus me trying to explain to you like it has a little pleat here and a little thing there. But showing it, I think, would help. But I'm definitely working on that, like a label, that one. Yes.
One more question, then we're gonna move on.
Okay. Couple quick things. One, I saw on YouTube that there's like a material that like they pour like a bunch of like wine on it and it doesn't stain it at all. I don't know, maybe that's a material that you're thinking about. And then two, it gets hot in the kitchen, so I don't know, maybe you might want a cotton thing because I know you have the straight polyester kind of gets hot.
Yeah.
And then a couple things, you can look on Alibaba for
Yeah,
manufacturers.
got that. Yeah.
But I'd watch out against patents, at least for my business, I had to watch out for patents because they're trying to just manufacture whatever they want. And then they ship it to us and then you're in kind of a patent violation, which you don't want to do. And then,
So keep in mind, you guys can connect with each other even today. So this is a conversation Natalie
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Stephen that you guys should have together. You're hearing like, hey, there's actually 3 of you that are working on clothing kind of things. So
Yeah.
you should be connecting offline and talking. That's why we created that group me. So you can message directly or you go through that group. So
Who's not in the group me?
If you're not on the group me, come get on it. We'll put you on at the end today. Riley and Autumn will help you get on it. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
That's great.
Hey guys, I'm Elisa.
I'm Ryan, and we're Donut Shop. So who likes getting complimented on their clothes? And somebody's like,
Oh.
hey, where'd you get that? How do I get one? You know, I love that. I love that design. You know, that's kind of what Donut Shop is all about, creating unique, locally inspired art for everyone.
Okay, so basically more in depth into that. What I wanted to create when I came up with Donut Shop Collective is more of a platform for maybe like local musicians, artists, to kind of like, I'm creating kind of like a real life promo for promo type thing. So basically this shirt actually itself was designed by another artist, a local artist. I paid him for it. And basically we come up to the agreement that, you know, like every artist has their own stipulations and, you know, we'll negotiate when it comes down to it. But right now we're both so small. Basically what I do is he promotes the brand because this is his design. And then I promote him as an artist because he's designed this. So basically what I do is I have the artists kind of come up with, like, I'll be like, okay, this is my logo. This is kind of like the theme. Come up with your own perspective of it. And they, you know, they'll always like, there's another t-shirt on my website that also was done by another artist. That was also, you know, her perspective of what it is. So I'm basically creating like my own universe of like different perspectives. Like each of these t-shirts are going to be limited edition. So they'll be printed, limited, like they're made, like right now I'm doing about 30 t-shirts because we're not that big. But, you know, as it gets bigger, depending on the artist, you know, how big the artist is, just depending on, you know, certain things will depend on how big are, you know, the amount of t-shirts that I create. Another thing I'm trying to, you know, I'm looking forward to doing is creating like a YouTube channel based with, you know, maybe different videographers' work showing different things, like just, you know, like just kind of like a collective of different music and art. And, you know, I'll throw my clothing to local musicians to wear in their music videos or have them shout me out. And I'm just kind of creating like a little like, you know, group of people with, you know, with similar interests that, you know, we're sharing our art, we're sharing our creativity, and, you know, they feel special to have a platform that they can, you know, express themselves on.
But most importantly, Donut Shop wants to promote a message of diversity, tolerance, acceptance, and creativity. It's for everyone, and, you know, everyone brings different perspectives and ideas to everything. So that's kind of the culture that we want to try to create and endorse.
What's
What's your question?
how do you make money from it?
My clothing.
So we would sell the t-shirt.
Yeah,
So
we sell
the kind of spiel that she was going on about creating,
Like how I get my design.
yeah, so working with other artists to then create a t-shirt, and then, you know, they would kind of market it to their audience. We would kind of market it to our audience, to the people that we know, and we would sell the t-shirts, sell the apparel, hats, whatever it may be, you know.
Like if you like that style of, you know, artwork, you can go check out that artist's different kind of art. Like I don't want to purchase the artist's miscellaneous work. I want them to do something specifically related to my brand, just their perspective of it, how they, you know, their specific style of, you know, a perspective, and that's what I'm gonna buy and print on a t-shirt.
Raise your hand if you were confused about what the product they were selling was after they pitched their idea. Anyone confused?
I'm
what
still stuck on.
What are you buying from them?
T-shirts.
T-shirts. What else do you guys
Hats.
sell?
We're like we're skateboard cult, like that's kind of like the vibe that we're going for. So we're gonna be selling hoodies, T-shirts, like beanies. I have stickers, skateboards
You
eventually.
sell that right now, don't you, on your site?
Yes, I do. Just not the skateboards and pants and jackets. We haven't gotten that big.
Did anybody think about donuts?
I was gonna say, where did you get the name from? Like, you still don't sell donuts.
Yeah.
That's
So-
actually my gimmick. I walk into actual donut shops, and they ask me like, "Oh my gosh, where's that donut shop at?" I'm like, "My basement." So, but I mean, I kind of roll with it. It does have a more subliminal meaning as to where it came from. But as of right now, it does attract a lot of people just because it's so confusing. They have questions, and I have answers.
That's,
Anybody?
I have a-
Anyone hasn't had a chance to ask
Yeah,
me?
first and then second.
I'm thinking of like I'm just trying to think about like specifically. So you already have the business up and running, and do you have like an audience of people already purchasing
Yes.
fairly consistently? And so you have, okay, because I'm thinking of this company. So they're a Christian company, and they pretty much do like they have their own like they have their it's called. They have two different lines like worship and there's something else, I forgot the other one, but everything is pretty much branded, but they sell, it's kind of the same thing, t-shirts and hats and watches, and they do packages. So have you thought, are you doing that as well, like selling, hey, I'm going to sell, these sneakers with that watch and that, so I'll share it with you so you can see, but
Show me. You mean like a package?
I'm just trying to understand, like I understand what you're doing with the artwork, so you're asking,
Well,
artists.
that's like my designs. It's going to be like a clothing, just like any
So
other
it's a
clothing
so
brand.
so essentially
Yeah,
it's
the
a
main
clothing
revenue
line.
and income is through clothing, but it's just the way I'm marketing it is what's different about it, and it's just kind of like I'm getting my audience involved physically into the brand. So like the bigger it gets, maybe that's everything will be figured out by then. But as of right now, because I'm also local, it's easier to get to other locals that are just like me, and it's kind of like we're a collective. We help
So they're
each
like
other out.
So they're artists that are
It's like a
giving you their artwork
collaboration
and
with just
you're putting
different
it
kind
on.
of artists. But I'm
Okay.
just the platform, and they're given my concept, and they have to they have to basically give me their perspective on my.
So you say like I want.
hmm
Is that a
Like
pig?
this is supposed to be. Can you tell what this is?
Is it a pig?
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
it's, the logo's a pig, but can you tell like at least what it is based off of? Hey, you got it. But it's it's Natty Bo, the beer. Anybody see it now?
I see the beard.
No, like the logo for Natty Bo.
The winking face and
Does anybody drink Natty Bo?
Mm-mm.
It's Baltimore beer, guys. Come on, get your
From New
Maryland
York.
on. Well, if you look up Natty Bo, you should be able to see it's very similar. It's just very different at the same time. Stay
Okay.
away
so
from
that was an original artwork that somebody created for this specific T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
I was just about to say, just don't attach Natty Bo to it, because otherwise Natty Bo's not.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, that's just for you guys.
Yeah.
So like first off, I just wanted to say that like your idea really reminds me of like the Hundreds, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
actually one of my I guess brands that I look up to.
Yeah, so like I really like the idea that you're trying to like build a community, not just selling a T-shirt. It's like something.
Yeah, that's what I really wanted to do with it. I
Yeah.
didn't want it just to be another clothing
And
line.
then like second of all, I was curious like, what is your are you using like Shopify or something like that for your platform? Or?
See, that's what I was like explaining to Professor Weiser. I'm very DIY at this. So like right now, my website is just Wix. I haven't gone onto Shopify. I use like Facebook, Instagram. Haven't really built up my YouTube, but I do have like a commercial that I put up there that kind of just has like a very brief, just like it's like 45 seconds of just like introducing Donut Shop. You kind of and that's kind of what I want to keep building, like different. I wanted to like start a campaign on it and like kind of put it out there just to get people, but I haven't gone onto Shopify yet. I was told to like browse
Like,
around.
I know like on
browse around.
Shopify you can connect with like manufacturers, so then you don't have to buy in bulk, but instead each time you get an order, like they like make it instead of like shipping out like I don't know like a set of 200 T-shirts and you don't even know if like all of them are gonna sell. So they would just like
that actually would be helpful, so I'm not just sitting on stuff.
Pay attention as well to the way that they're describing when they say something. If someone says something like your business and they relate it and say it in their own words, you might want to use those words going forward. Like, hey, this is a community of artists that express themselves through their clothing. That's to me how he was describing your business. That might be another way to consider describing it.
Yeah, I like that.
Context was kind of like
Yeah, that community word.
Yeah, I like that.
The concept is difficult to understand.
Okay.
And so just be aware of that. I reviewed your proposal, and I sat there with another professor who's accounting, so very different than me.
Mhm.
We read it about 3 times, to try to, grasp it. I mean, we got it, but
I just have to tweak it.
Professor Weiser's right. You want to pay attention to how maybe we're translating it.
Mhm.
I mean, the fact that you're building community, that piece I didn't get out of your proposal. That's a key piece.
Can I just say one thing? Because I think what you're doing, like with the community, is great. I think if you focus on the product, I think that's where, because I was like, okay, I'm getting it, and then I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. The community piece is great, I think, in connecting and bringing in like the artists and you kind of collaborating on that. But I think maybe what would help, at least for me, like just to understand it, because I think I understand what you're doing. I think it's just as you're marketing it to focus on the clothing, but the community piece, I think as you're talking about, is already evident because you're working with local artists to create a concept that you have, and then you're putting it on your, on your clothing.
Yeah.
So I think if you just kind of just focus on that, I think the rest of it, speaks for itself. 'Cause, yeah.
Last comment, then we're gonna move on to our final.
Okay, so this might be easier once you have like more of a following, but also have people like vote on an artist that they want featured on your work. Have you guys done some doing
We haven't
something?
done anything like that yet, but it's definitely something that we've thought about.
That's a good idea.
And that's would feed into kind of our main vision of what we want to do. Because it's got to be something that the community, the culture that we're trying to build, it's got to be something that they want.
Last but not least.
Hi guys, my name is An. So my business idea is called the Outsider Channel. The Outsider Channel is an entertainment channel. However, it's not only entertaining people, but it also educates people about music, especially hip hop. When I say hip hop, how many of you guys think about music? Like only music, nothing else. Okay. What's other word you guys come up to your mind when I say hip hop?
No.
What? What'd you say?
I think of New York.
Because of the origin of it?
Yeah.
So the Outsider Channel, what I want to do is gonna be an entertainment channel. So it's gonna be kind of like, the motive is gonna be like kind of a combination of MTV channels and National Geographic channels, in which we're gonna educate people about history of hip hop, the influence of hip hop, not only on US but also on other countries. For example, in comparison of US hip hop music and Vietnamese hip hop music, what's the difference between it? How hip hop came to US and how hip hop came to in Vietnam. So the audience that I'm focusing on is young folk, of course. I also focusing on academic audience, because I have been noticed that high school right now they also teach about hip hop as one of their class, not in the class but as one of the content in the class because of the culture aspect of it. And the content for my channel is gonna be completely based on fact and neutral. Everything gonna be correct as much as the information that we gather. There's gonna be no bias or personal opinion on the content that we put in our channels. The channel mostly gonna be function through sponsorship, commercials, and annually events. So for example, MTV, they have MTV Music Award. For our channel, we will have kind of like a big concert every year where all artists from maybe around the world, maybe within the US, come to perform, so we can take money from the ticket, from commercial, from sponsorship to that event, to move on with a bigger project. And that's my channel.
I think that while that's a good idea, you're very narrow with just hip hop and just with America and Vietnam, I believe you said. But if you were to be able to do that with Vietnam and every other country, how it affected hip hop, and I don't even think it's hip hop everywhere. I mean, it's pretty recent, right?
Yep. So that's Vietnam, just a specific example that I'm giving out because that's where I came from. But definitely coming to other countries too. So like depending on the episode, depending on the season. So for example, next month I will do like about hip hop in Vietnam. The following month I will do like hip hop in El Salvador, how I come across in El Salvador, and etc. But the main focus, the genre of the culture that I'm focusing on is hip hop. So that was make the unique outfit. So yes.
So I'm not too familiar with starting a channel or whatever, but basically, you said that there was gonna be a season or episode, and something that's like a reality right like currently is that you like instead of like streaming things I guess live over a channel, you film everything, and then you can basically sell your show to Netflix, and then you get rid of that. Because like Netflix would buy it, and then you can like film like season 2, and then like Netflix is a huge platform, so then you can get a wide audience.
Yes.
Do you plan? Well, this might be big, but I mean, like traveling, because I think about like all the travel channel shows, and it's all food based, right? But if you're talking about, I'm sure there's somewhere they're doing a show about like music or the culture. But have you thought about, are you going to be visiting the specific country? Are you bringing people in from those countries to talk about the influence? Are you finding artists, hip hop artists from Vietnam, El Salvador, to bring them on your show? Have you thought about like?
Yes, I actually think about that because one of my biggest potential partnership I'm looking at it's called Don't Care Magazine. So Don't Care Magazine is the only hip hop magazine in Vietnam right now. It's not really official. It's an underground magazine, but it's big and it's mostly known in hip hop community in Vietnam. So I'm trying to reach out for them the most so they can do the documentary of the environment of the community over there. And then I can incorporate that into the content that I'm editing here. And I also have a guest speaker in Vietnam to talk about the music. And I'm thinking about getting that guest speaker also, but from other country for other content too. Yes.
I'm confused with what your channel is gonna be, like radio, like a TV or like YouTube channel.
I'm thinking about to make it like a YouTube channel to start off with. But later on, I would like to collaborate with other bigger channels, for example, MTV, V Channel, yes, so or any kind, for example, MCTV, if you're interested. So I'm looking forward to incorporate with other bigger channel that is already out there too.
You mentioned the high schools have some music education stuff. We also, just so you know, have that here. It might be if you talk to any of the music faculty here, because we have classes like listening to music, and I think it's American music, and a couple others that it might be interesting to get some of their insights on, or to have them speak as guest speakers on your show.
Yeah, sure. I'm actually looking out for that too, but I actually doesn't know much people in that department yet. But definitely, I'll definitely reach out for them.
The faculty, you have to have office hours. You can drop by the music department and see them.
Yes.
So I'm just curious on the background of how this was, how you came up with this idea, why hip hop and then why a channel, what is.
Because I actually grew up listening to hip hop every single day because of my brother, and it's actually a big part of my life. I like dancing. I danced a lot, when I was in middle school. I'm not dancing anymore because I'm old, but yeah. I mean, my health is not that good when I was younger anymore. But yes, and hip hop for especially Vietnamese music, hip hop music, is have a certain meaning to it, and it's mean a lot to me. So I've been through a lot, but when I first came to America, and then in one of my AB language class, there was a week we studied about hip hop culture, and then my teacher started playing hip hop music from other country, and when they came across to, especially Asia hip hop music, for example, he was playing some article I forgot, but he's from China, so the whole song is in Chinese. Then the whole class start to laugh, and oh, it's not serious, it's not that matter anymore. That what made me really hurt, even though I don't understand the Chinese song too, but I say I know that song have a certain meaning to it. but they don't understand. So why they insulted it? So that's made me think like, oh, they need to know more, but they need like something in some way to educate them about that thing. So. Do you have a question?
You know, you have a ton of stuff going on. A lot of you guys are working. You're involved in a lot of stuff on campus, and you're doing this program voluntarily, which is a great thing to add value to your resume and build your businesses. But we want to be respectful of your time. I know it's actually closer to 6. That clock's a little slow. So, a couple things. We recorded you pitching these ideas. So we will share not only the video of the electro review I provided, but also your video of you pitching each other's ideas, so you can learn some best practices from each other. And I encourage you to at least watch yourself on that video. You might be surprised what you look like sharing your idea and how you do things public speaking. For example, I know I use my hands too much. I'm still working on it to this day. So take a look at that video. Riley and Autumn, anything you want to say before we close?
Yeah, we'll send out that email tonight. So you'll have the link to that. You'll also still have the link to GroupMe.